Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the FLASHBACK Podcade, the show that dusts off your favorite memories and plays them back in glorious high fidelity.
That's right. I'm your co-host, Coletta, here to navigate the currents of time.
And I'm Colm, ready to hit 88 miles per hour in our audio DeLorean. And Coletta, today we have a topic that is guaranteed to produce some serious belly laughs.
Oh, I am so ready. What are we getting into?
We are diving deep into the world of 1980s sitcoms.
Yes, the golden age. I'm talking about a time before streaming, before binge watching, when you had to be on the couch at a specific time on a specific night to catch your favorite show.
Okay, so where do we even begin? We have to start with royalty. Even though her show started in the 70s, it ran into the early 80s, and its influence is just undeniable. I'm talking about the one and only Carol Burnett.
You have to start with Carol. The Carol Burnett Show was more than a show. It was an event. It was this perfect blend of sketch comedy, musical numbers, and genuine star power.
And the core cast was just lightning in a bottle. You had Carol, of course, the incredibly versatile Vicki Lawrence, the straight man Harvey Korman, and the secret weapon, Tim Conway.
Tim Conway was a comedic genius. His whole goal, it seemed, was not just to make the audience laugh, but to make his castmates break character.
He always went for Harvey Korman, always. There are so many classic sketches, but the one that lives in my head forever is the dentist sketch. Harvey Korman is just trying to get through the scene, but he's laughing so hard he's literally crying by the end.
That chemistry led directly into another 80s classic, because one of the most beloved recurring sketches on Carol Burnett's show was The Family.
Yes, which of course was spun off into the sitcom Mama's Family.
Exactly, and it starred Vicki Lawrence, who was, in her 30s, playing this sharp-tongued, cantankerous, elderly matriarch, Thelma Harper.
She was incredible. She completely disappeared into that role. The floral house dress, the orthopedic shoes, the gray wig, you absolutely believed she was Mama. It felt comfortable, like visiting your own crazy relatives.
Okay, from a comfortable family home to a very unconventional living arrangement, we have to talk about Three's Company.
The undisputed king of misunderstanding-based comedy. Come and knock on our door.
We've been waiting for you. The premise itself is pure 80s sitcom gold. A guy, Jack Tripper, needs a place to live, and he finds a great apartment with two single women, Janet and Chrissy.
But the landlord, Mr. Roper, is very old-fashioned and would never allow that. So, to get around it, they tell him that Jack is gay.
Exactly, and that one lie fuels 8 seasons of television. It's kind of amazing when you think about it.
It is, but the heart and soul of that show was the incredible talent of John Ritter. The man was a master of physical comedy.
A master! He could do a simple pratfall and make it look like a meticulously choreographed ballet. His timing, his expressions, everything was perfect.
All right, so from a mainstream smash hit to something a little more niche, a cult classic. Coletta, tell me you remember Sledge Hammer.
Are you kidding me? Of course. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. That show was brilliant.
It was. For anyone who doesn't know, it was a satirical take on all the macho tough-as-nails cop shows from that era, like Dirty Harry. The main character, Inspector Sledge Hammer, was a walking, talking cartoon of a detective.
He was so over the top. His solution to every problem was excessive violence. He treated his Magnum pistol like it was his best friend. He named it Amigo, showered with it, and gave his gun its own satin pillow to lay next to him at night.
Right, and the pilot episode is legendary. To stop a sniper on a roof, he pulls out a bazooka and just blows up the entire building. And then he says something like, "I think I got him."
It was just so relentlessly silly. It was a show that was making fun of television while being on television. It was ahead of its time, really. Too bad it was short-lived.
Okay, from satirical absurdity to just pure, unadulterated 80s weirdness. Coletta, it's time to talk about Vicki the Robot.
Yes, there's no avoiding it. We have to discuss Small Wonder.
Another sitcom, so good and short-lived. So, a robotics engineer, Ted Lawson, built a child robot with super strength and a supercomputer brain, and then just decides to raise her as part of the family.
As one does, and he gives her the name Vicky, which stands for Voice Input Child Identicant. And the whole family has to keep her identity a secret from everyone, especially their unbelievably nosy neighbors, the Brindles.
Right. And Vicky would be there talking in her monotone voice, lifting the couch with one hand, or interpreting a figure of speech literally, leading to all kinds of chaos. She slept standing up in a cabinet in the living room.
It was one of the most wonderfully bizarre concepts for a sitcom ever created. But you know what? We all watched it, and we all remember that theme song.
Okay, let's bring it back to earth a little bit with a couple of shows that were all about family, just unconventional ones. Let's talk about the duo of Webster and Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, that's a perfect pairing. They both have that outsider joining a family dynamic. First, with Webster, you have this incredibly cute kid played by Emmanuel Lewis.
Adorable. After his parents pass away, he's adopted by his NFL player godfather, George Papadopoulos, and his new wife, Ma'am. It was a very sweet, family-friendly show with those very special episodes that so many 80s sitcoms had.
Right. And then on the other side of the coin, you have Mr. Belvedere, a sophisticated, highly educated British butler who takes a job with a typical American family, the Owens, in suburban Pittsburgh.
The main conflict was always between Mr. Belvedere and the youngest troublemaking son, Wesley. Their dynamic was the core of the whole show.
It was a classic rivalry, but I loved how every episode ended with him writing in his journal, summarizing the lesson of the day. It was such a perfect, neat little bow on every episode.
And speaking of family dynamics, we have to talk about one of the quintessential 80s families, the Seavers from Growing Pains.
Oh, absolutely. That show was huge. It had a really interesting premise for the time. The dad, Jason Seaver, was a psychiatrist who worked from home so that his wife, Maggie, could go back to work as a reporter.
Right, a stay-at-home professional dad was a new concept for sitcoms. But the real draw was the kids. You had Mike, played by Kirk Cameron, who was the ultimate charming troublemaker.
Every girl had a crush on Mike Seaver. He was the cool older brother who was always getting into scrapes but had a good heart underneath it all.
Totally. Then you had Carol, the studious, brainy middle child who was always exasperated by Mike's antics. And of course, little Ben, the youngest, who was just trying to figure everything out.
That's what made the show work so well. It had laughs, but it also had these really heartfelt moments where Jason would sit down with one of the kids in his office and have a real talk about life. It was comedy with a conscience.
It really was. Now, from a traditional family to a completely groundbreaking one, we cannot talk about 80s sitcoms without paying tribute to the Golden Girls.
Thank you for being a friend. That show was revolutionary. A crime time sitcom about 4 older single women living together in Miami. It had never been done before, and it was an instant classic.
And the casting was pure perfection. You had B. Arthur as Dorothy, the sharp-witted, sarcastic substitute teacher who was the grounded center of the group.
And then the absolute opposite, Betty White as Rose, the sweet, ditzy, naive woman from St. Olaf, Minnesota, who had the most bizarre stories about her hometown.
Then you had Rue McClanahan as the vivacious, man-hungry Southern belle Blanche.
And finally, Estelle Getty as Dorothy's tiny but fierce Sicilian mother, Sophia, who was always ready with a cutting remark or a story that started with, picture it, Sicily, 1922.
The chemistry between those 4 women was magic. So many of the show's best moments happened late at night, in the kitchen over cheesecake, where they talk about everything from dating to aging to serious health issues.
Exactly. The writing was so sharp, so witty, and it wasn't afraid to be both hilarious and incredibly touching in the same scene. A true masterpiece. Speaking of shows that flipped traditional roles, we absolutely have to talk about Who's the Boss, another show ahead of its time.
Oh, absolutely. Tony Danza as Tony Michelli, this former baseball player from Brooklyn who becomes a live-in housekeeper for Angela Bauer, played by Judith Light. The whole premise was this brilliant role reversal.
Right. Angela was this successful businesswoman running her own advertising agency, and Tony was the one taking care of the house and helping raise the kids. In the 80s, that was revolutionary. And the chemistry between Tony and Angela was electric. That will they, won't they tension kept us watching for 8 seasons. Plus, you had Samantha, played by a young Alyssa Milano, and Jonathan, Angela's son. Tony Danza brought such charm to that role. He made this tough Brooklyn guy who could cook and clean seem completely natural. It challenged so many stereotypes.
Okay, so we've had traditional families, unconventional families. Now let's go completely out of this world. Let's talk about the Tanner family and their house guest.
There's only one show that could fit that description. We're talking about Alf.
Yes, the high-concept sitcom to end all high-concept sitcoms. The premise is just insane. A furry, sarcastic alien from the planet Melmac follows a ham radio signal and crash lands his spaceship into the garage of a suburban family, the Tanners.
And what do? They hide him from the government's alien task force and let him live with them. Alf, which stands for alien life form, was this wisecracking puppet who was always getting into trouble.
He had all those great catchphrases. I kill me, and no problem. The dynamic between him and the perpetually stressed out dad, Willie Tanner, was the heart of the show.
And you can't talk about Alf without mentioning the running gag of him constantly trying to eat the family cat, Lucky, because on Melmac, cats were a delicacy.
Right, it was so hilarious. For a family show, it had a surprisingly cynical sense of humor, which all came from Alf himself. It's another one of those shows that could only have happened in the 80s.
Wow, what a tour. We went from variety shows and butlers to Golden Girls and Aliens. The 80s really was a wild time for comedy.
It was a creative explosion. There are still so many more we could have talked about. This is definitely a topic that needs a part 2.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap up today's stroll down sitcom lane. We really hope this sparked some fun memories for everyone listening. Thanks so much for joining us on another trip in the Flashback Podcade.
And be sure to buckle up for our next episode because we're leaving the world of television and raiding the 80s toy chest.
Ooh, yes! We're going to be talking about the toys that defined our childhoods. Think Cabbage Patch Kids mania, the rise of the Transformers, and the power of Grayskull with He-Man.
It is going to be a nostalgia overload in the best possible way. You are not going to want to miss it.
Until next time, keep those memories on rewind. Bye.